So we did the skewed workout last week, which is the first of 3 that we have, going throughout the month of December, testing out a few of those new, I guess what we're doing is bonus scores, but I've got a couple different formulas that I'm plugging your normal base scores into, and then it's generating kind of like what your score might be if everyone kind of had the same form. It also takes into account some of the, the past performances that you had.
So similar and different kind of to like when we did the, if you have good form, your score is probably going to be in the red this week.
Right.
Your score, yeah.
Was that slope week or something like that? Or
it was like if then or something. I can't remember, but I think it was a week.
There was a name to it.
And you totally missed one day.
Yeah, I did.
You were completely off on one day.
Because I predicted it. Yeah, I remember that. But that's funny. No, this one's a little bit different. What it does is it takes the score that you normally score, and then it exponentially gives you more bonus points based on how far you get. So, for instance, someone who scores 500 is not going to have as many bonus points possible as someone who scores 800, and then there's a few other variables in it. The next 2 are completely different formulas. So, I mean, the last one was exponential. This one's going to be a little bit different. Yeah. Or the next one's going to be different, and that's the 14th, and I think either the 27th or the 28th. But I mean, I liked it. Like checklist, the whole class, like the whole hour goes by so fast for me. I don't know if that feels that way for you or not.
On a checklist?
Or a checklist by 3 or whatever it is.
Yeah, for sure. Because you can start, you know what's coming next. Mm-hmm. You memorize the whole thing essentially second time through.
I feel like it's almost like it warps time a little bit if you know that like you're trying to do a little bit better, or you're trying to get to a certain point. Mm-hmm. Like the hour goes by faster. For sure. It's kind of like well, that's weird. It's kind of like, have you ever played a sport where like I played hockey? Did you play like a sport where you had like timed?
Played lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
I think they had time.
So I mean that's perfect. So it's like, like if you're losing it, it feels like the clock's going faster.
Yep.
But when you're winning, you're like, we got to play defense, and it's going slowly. So that's exactly, I feel like you're playing you're playing what, offense, when the time's ticking off faster.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Yeah, that's happened. That's happened here. I think it was last week when I was telling you. I was telling you how I knew how many tasks I had left or whatever. And the same thing. So I was looking at the clock trying to do some math in terms of how long I have per task, this and that. And then, of course, the clock's rolling by so fast then. Right. But when I'm tired and I don't want to do this anymore, it's, 40 minutes left.
Well, if you have time to do math in the middle of the workout.
Oh, it was quick math.
Yeah, well, you were talking about like that, like actual, like how many tasks you had left, right?
Yeah, it was the Denali, so it was.
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
See, that's another one.
Easy math. I don't know.
But like Denali, not to get off topic, but Denali is just all it is just a mountain, one large mountain that you're doing, a reverse mountain, and then the checklist arms on it. I don't get why people have a tough time following that one.
I don't know.
Me neither. But anyways. One of the things that I noticed that I really wanted to highlight was like if you click on statistics or stats on our homepage, you'll notice that people have obviously your stats, but next to it on the far left, you're going to see a little talk bubble, or like a little comment is what it is. And if you hover over it, if it's yellow or orange, depending on what your tint is, you're going to see a little comment, and that means the pro or the person who's training you left a comment for you. Usually if it's a newbie, they'll say, welcome to Cyphus Training, embrace the hangover. If it's your second time, it'll say newbie 2 or newbie 3 if you did it the third time. But we also try to use that to denote peaks. So a lot of times, like we want to see like, who got their highest score for the first time. Let's say it's the first time they got like a 600 or something like that, or whatever. We try to acknowledge that. And so now doing this podcast that we've been doing, pretty regularly, we want to make sure that we acknowledge those people who actually hit those marks. So if you're a pro, or if you are somebody who maybe just scored a peak, let the person know that you scored a peak, and or if you're coming up on one of the milestones that's 100 points, let the pro know so they can maybe make a note. It makes my job a lot easier to find it rather than trying to sift through it. So the milestones that we hit this week, we had some big names in the milestones. We had at 100 was Christy Brinkley, and then Grace Pichet. At 200 was Jamie Payette. 300 was Teresa Molnar. Sue Zarinsky, who I think also had a peak on Skewed, and then Tim Kaniga, who's the owner of both Harrison Township and Royal Oak. And I know he's done way more than 300,
Right.
But he has 300 in I guess the common era. So again, that was, what was it, November of 2014. So he's doing, and that's one of the things people don't realize. Like as pros, as much as you're training and teaching people how to do it, you're probably doing another workout just on top of it, teaching
sure.
alone. Especially if you're doing like a checklist or something like that. So being able to do it that consistently. And keep a score all that time. I mean, it's very, very, very difficult. You're a little bit above that, right?
Yeah, it was just a new system, like 378 today or something like that.
Because I'm really close to Tim. I think I was 300 like last week or the week before. So he and I. So good to me. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. And then probably the most important one that I really want to highlight right now, and I didn't get to mention his name last week, is Frank Westella. He actually was a member here first, I believe, and now he's a member in Harrison Township. He's been a cog in Harrison Township for years now. He just hit his 400th workout, and he's one of those people who just always just kind of does his work, takes the the advice of the pro, and is really, he perseveres through everything, tries his absolute hardest. Have you ever worked out with him before? Or?
Yeah, he came here once or twice last summer.
Okay.
So I got to work out with him then, and then I may have been to Harrison one time with him.
He's one of those people who inspires you when you're next to him. I know that like kind of the zest that he has for sightless training is palpable, and he's always promoting like on Facebook or especially Twitter. And he's a golf pro too, and so he just eats, sleeps, and breathes Sightless, and he's just really, really dedicated to it. So last week when Katrina asked who our heroes were, I failed to mention Frank, but he was definitely somebody who was on my mind, and I should have mentioned it before. But 400, and I mean that's 100 points more than, or 100 more workouts than myself, who's here all the time. That's freaking incredible. So nice job, Frank. And then I also wanted to highlight something else that's really, really special today. I want to make sure this is recording. Yes, it is. Was Prudence Cole. Prudence Cole has been a member of Sightless. She was actually predates this location. So this is the mothership, the very first location. But when I came up with the concept, it was at a different gym, and we were just running it out of this back kind of like turfed area.
Like Fight Club, sort of?
It was kind of like Fight Club, yeah. And she was I believe, one of the first female members that we had. And she just turned 70 years old, and she doesn't mind me saying that she turned 70. And so, to my knowledge, she is the first and maybe the only 70-year-old participant in Sightless training, which is freaking incredible.
It's incredible.
I mean, I hope for many reasons to be doing Sightless when I'm 70 years old. But today we got to take a couple pictures and stuff like that. So Prudence, I just want to say congratulations on sticking with it, and you're an inspiration to all of us here, and we aspire to be following in your footsteps. So really, really well done. And that brings me actually to one of the questions that one of our viewers, I say viewers, he's our buddy, Keith Millard, had sent me a question, and I kind of want to get your take first, and then I'll give you mine. In a nutshell, his question was wondering if we were ever going to have the ability to take into account somebody's age, maybe their body type, either their weight or pre-workout numbers, their biomechanics, and see if that can change the score that you get. He also said slope. He wanted to know if maybe the weight that you use or the weight that your personal, what's on your frame, would affect slope or score. And I kind of want to get what your take would be on that, if it should be.
If it should be, well, I mean, I think I know what you're going to say, and I think the short answer is just no. Mm-hmm. There's obviously if you can't physically do something, then we can give you something to do, right, to replace it. In terms of things getting done there's going to be things harder for some people and easier for other people. Right. And I think those items meshed with the tasks that everyone can do makes it an even playing field.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you're going to elaborate, or was it like...
Well, I mean, there's super hard tasks that everyone struggles with. There's hard tasks for you that I can do well, fast, whatever. Then vice versa, and then there's the tasks that everyone can do. So it's all a wash. I think.
Right. So so if we're talking like strictly about tasks and the way that you're able to perform them, as opposed to me, as opposed to John Smith and Jane Doe, it all evens out. Like you said, there's a level playing field. So you may be better at upper body strength exercises, but that Jane Doe may be good at lunges, and she can keep going without stopping at all.
Yep.
That is why we keep averages. That's why we keep the ongoing averages, which we call boulders, because it's going to even out eventually.
And I think everyone has, you say Jane Doe, everyone has that Jane Doe task that they see someone else do so effortlessly.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting here knowing it's going to take me forever and seeing someone else just fly through it.
Right.
But then you got to understand, you have that for them as well. So just like you said, someone going down and back on a lunge that maybe someone else can't do. And for me, it's watching, if we have, like 3 cyclones in a row or a halo, 2 halos in a row, and people aren't stopping. I'm like, I can't,
Seriously.
I have to stop. I have to.
Like, I'm glad you brought that up. So, like, I have 2 Achilles heels. One's for sure jumping. Jumping done, like, I will score like 100 points less if there's a lot of jumping. But carries, like, I would think that, like, I thought I was, like, strong upper body, but Cyphus is one of those sports, like, almost the better you do at something, or the better you do at it, the worse you score sometimes. So like chicken or opened or something like that. Like if you're really doing it the right way, it's hard to do like half of it without taking a rest.
For sure.
And so to your point, like my arms get to the point where I just can't hold that plate up, and I'm like, how is that person still going? And it's not. I don't mean anything formal. I'm just like, this person could do it. So it does even out, but. To say, here's my default answer to that question, because I get it a lot. Do you consider the person with who's 60 years old on the same playing field or the same score to someone who's 30? And my answer to that is that I don't like to give the 60-year-old more bonus points for their age, because that person could be exercising for the last 40 years, and the person who's 30 years old just started.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I don't think age should have any factor in that. It would be, like you said, how active someone is, and just how new they are to, and you don't know what's been going on before they even got here too.
Exactly. And I think of it again like a credit score, like an IQ, like a GPA. I mean, just because maybe you started in a certain socioeconomic status doesn't mean that your credit score is going to change. Yes, I mean, if you get started earlier, it may be better. Same thing with fitness. You know what I mean? So I think anybody kind of comes with their own little baggage into the gym, and you try to do the best of what you have, and then you improve upon it. And what we will be able to do, the site's not able to do it yet, but it will be able to, is to be able to sort by your age bracket and by your gender.
Sort of like a race results at the end of a race or something.
And that's just something. It's kind of like, if I had the time and the resources to do so, it would be, we'd have like a top 10 from ages 31 to 40 and so forth for each.
And you could do like a Clydesdale.
Exactly.
I don't even know what that is, but
and that's the thing right now, and that's a good point. I don't know if all the viewers know that you're able to enter in your age in a picture. I know you have a picture on yours, and some people kind of put some funny pictures up there. You can put like not a password, but a nickname. But we will eventually be able to have you enter in your measurements, if you will, and also have different ways of keeping track of your scores and comparing. But that's on a future app that's in development right now, which we'll go into detail explaining in 2018.
But even back to the scoring thing, I don't think judging your score against someone else that's the same age is even has anything to do with how you've grown,
Right.
how you're progressing, and things like that. So it's nothing to feel bad about or anything.
Well, we hit upon it not last week, but the week before. You're not doing somebody else's workout. I mean, yes, maybe you need modifications, or hey, shoot, I can't do the inchworm like somebody else, and that one slows me down for 10 minutes. Well, just try to get through it, because that's the hurdle that you're always going to face.
Right.
And just know that when you see that one, it's going to slow you down, and just try to get the best you can at it. So that way, when you do come back to it, you say, like, shoot, I did it in 9 minutes this time, you know? So I can tell you right now, from my standpoint, since I come up with the math, we're not going to change the slope or the scoring system based on age or gender. It will be sortable, and you can classify it that way.
Have you ever thought of doing I don't know what the word would be, but I guess this would be the same question, just in a different way, but having 2 different workouts a day? I mean, I know it's a ton of work. I'm not even suggesting it, but has that thought ever come up where you have like I don't even know what you would call it, but I think you know what I'm trying to say.
No, before, like, Cyphus was like a bigger thing, and we opened up here, we used to have 3 per day, and it was called moderate intensity, high intensity, and extreme intensity. Yeah. And the way I could best compare it to, like, back then the scores would go up to 1,400, 1,200, and 1,000. So now I guess it would be like 1,800 and 600. And so that way everybody could finish a workout. So if you decided to do moderate today, you're done at 600 if you finish it. But now it's just you can't do that. But you could do a separate workout. I've thought about this, like, okay, anybody who wants to do a slope of 60, we got one for you, because I would like to do that. You know, I would like to do a ton of crawling.
Like plus, they call it like plus, or something like that.
Yeah, like extra, something, whatever.
Yeah. And then I think what that would, not that this is happening, but what you could do with that is you could have more difficult, high-scoring tasks earlier in workouts for other people that don't normally get that far ever, and then the one time MFT shows up at 3:30, they're like, "What is this?"
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, that's because there are those tasks that very rarely come for people who are, I guess 600 or lower.
Sure.
And when I talk about old Cyphus, I talk like I'm thinking like 2010, 11, 12, maybe even into 13. Like, those exercises used to come a lot earlier. And I liked it because it kind of separated the pack a little bit, and I like that challenge, but I also get the reason why we need a good 20, 30 exercise warm-up or a lead-up, because we don't want people to get stuck in their tracks and then struggle 15 minutes doing one MFT or something.
Yeah, no one wants to do that.
But at the same time, I would like to hit that early.
Sure.
But that's what, like, a Grinch or something like that's for.
Yeah. Go ahead and do it when you want.
So, right. But what's a good idea is kind of like the if-then type thing. So, like, all right, you could, that's what we the 24th, we have the naughty and nice list. But didn't we recently do one where you could do one of these or 3 of those?
That was remember that was the Citra Aha.
Citra Ahara. Yeah. That means the other side in like old Judaism. The other side, it's like, I used to be really into Kabbalah and Jewish mysticism, and it means like the other side. But
I only did one side that day, but
okay. I don't know what that got me thinking about. That's funny that you brought that up the other day, saying that you wanted to do it. I'm like, well, we just did it, and I wasn't even thinking about it. But yeah, so long story short, I mean, there are an infinite amount of ways to kind of just like the metrics that you can look at, whether it's age or you can look at like how much you weigh or your measurements or your ROQ and boulder and slope and all that kind of stuff. I think it's just more of a way of sorting it, and there are other statistics that I keep track of that we don't even display yet, that I'm looking forward to sharing eventually. But one of the things that I wanted to talk about, and Katrina, who we hosted last week, she's always giving us food for thought. And
Yeah, we should probably thank her for doing that last week, because I don't think we did last week. We were, I don't know what we were doing.
So at the end of last show, we decided to do a little clap, and people he noticed that it was a little nod to Steve Kent, who finished his 300th workout. And if you've ever worked out with Steve, whenever he's done it, it's usually line number 4. He'll finish a task and always clap, and so you always know that Steve's in the room. So we decided to end the podcast on a clap, and so in doing so, we didn't actually say, Katrina, thanks so much.
Yeah.
You were great, and she'll definitely be back on, because a lot of people loved what she had to say in her perspective. So thank you very much.
And she had great hair.
It was like flowing like that. Speaking of which, I didn't bring up the shirt. Last time the shirt you were wearing, what's this one about?
This is for the Craig Sager Foundation. They made these when he's a commentator on TBS for the NBA.
I know
he had cancer.
Yes.
And he always wears these funky shirts. So they made this, or suits. So he made this shirt as a replica of his suit, and all the money went to charity and stuff. So.
I mean, you've always got like an eclectic wardrobe, and then you got the hat to match.
Yeah, it's cold in here. So.
It is cold. We have to turn off the heat so the heat doesn't keep running. But so, anyways, Katrina, she asked me, because I believe we talked about it briefly when she was on the podcast, about how my mentality has changed from a health and working out fitness standpoint over the years. I know that you shared quite a bit, like kind of like your journey through fitness.
What happened that made you change? What was the switch?
Okay, so
did something happen?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, that's better when you ask that. So I would lift as heavy as possible. At some point in time, you can't maintain that. I was at my heaviest 232 pounds on this frame. I'm naturally ectomorphic, which means like skinny bones and everything like that. But I was bench pressing in the 300s and doing like 1 rep maxes, like as much as possible. Shoulders would tear all the time, but I wanted to have this certain look, but at a certain time, like I couldn't maintain that. I couldn't eat a certain way, and I was immobile. When I was in high school, I was much more athletic than when I got to college, and I couldn't move laterally. I couldn't hardly like reach behind my back and do that kind of stuff, and so I didn't even really realize it, but like I was still pretty like quick, but like whenever we'd run a mile, I would be the slowest person. I would look like I was like really fit, but I couldn't even run a mile in probably like I was like an 8-something minute mile. And being 21, 22 years old, that's, I mean, someone who spends all the time in the gym, that's not very good. So the transition was when I studied, all throughout studying exercise science, that's what my, one of my degrees is in exercise science. I learned like how to do it and like the benefits of it. But it wasn't until I became a trainer in just a regular traditional gym that I changed my mentality just by observing. Like that's really where I think it kind of like clicked for me, was just sitting back and just sitting behind a desk and watching how people work out, what their tendencies are, like what are they looking at, what are the reasons for being there. That's really what made me think, I'm like, I think we got this messed up. Like we're not exercising the right way. We're on machines. Half the time we got people on cell phones, texting or on the phone, looking at a TV, just walking on a treadmill, when they're really not being present in the moment, working out the way that their bodies were designed to. But that's not either. That's also not what started Cyphus. Cyphus kind of started by being in the right place at the right time with the right people in the right environment. Part of it was like dumb luck. Some of it was just being like obsessed with some like crazy idea, and then just like I guess the guts to kind of just pursue it, because it was very uneasy to have people crawling on the ground and pushing and doing like even like a reverse bear crawl seemed like a really like crazy thing at the time, and have people like in the normal gym just like walking by like, what the heck are those people doing? And so you would get these looks like,
Yeah.
You know.
Like, come on, what are you doing?
And I would kind of feel like, is this right? Because here I am, a personal trainer. Well, the book didn't tell me this. My college experience definitely didn't tell me to do toros or diablos. God forbid, you shouldn't be bent hunched over like that doing a diablo. So for me to kind of make that leap, that was a big thing to do.